Hey, this is Paige Means Hopper, and I have a question for you. What are you if you're programmed to believe that your only value is tied to somebody else's prosperity? What are you? We're going to answer that question right now. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Auntie.
Hey, everybody, we're back. We're back live streaming right here at We Are Your Aunties. And we have a very special guest tonight. His name is Carl Armour Waters. And he is an actor. He's a comedian, among many other things. But we are super excited to have him on here tonight for our topic, which is the us factor, sports and entertainment. So how are you doing, Kyle?
I do good. I do great. How's everybody doing?
We're good. We're excited. We're so happy you came.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're really glad to have you here. So we've got Auntie Rose. Say hi to the people, y'all.
Hey, this is
doing?
Relax and enjoy.
Aunties in the house.
Yay.
It's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit.
Whoa.
So if you've never been with us before, understand that you are home. Just whatever comes up, comes out. No worries. We're going to take care of it. And for those of you who are watching tonight, we just want to say, hey. And we also want to say, please participate.
Yeah.
Just ask your questions, give your comments, your input, your feedback, whatever you want to say. We're just in a big kiki here, right? It can get to be a little bit serious kiki sometimes, but it's still a kiki. It's just you're on your auntie's porch and we're just talking, right, ladies?
Right. Oh
right?
Yeah, that's it.
So I asked the question at the top of the show before we came on, and I was asking if your only value is tied to somebody else's prosperity, then what does that make you? And according to my book, what that makes you is a wound that I call being property.
Right?
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, this is, oh my God. So first of all, let's start here. We never, ever victim shame on this show.
No.
What do I mean by that? Like what we went through, what our ancestors went through, some people believe is very shameful. But to me, it's not our shame.
No.
But at the same time, we were the victims of the institution of slavery. At least our ancestors were the victims of the institution of slavery. What they went through was alive and well within them, to the point where they passed it, a lot of the behaviors and patterns and stuff down to us because of what was in their hearts, their minds, their souls, their DNA, right?
Yes.
And so either through teachings and behaviors or through literal cellular structure, we received a lot of that stuff, right? Exactly. So that is what I mean when I say victim. I don't mean like, oh my God, woe is me. I'm just so downtrodden. I can never, get back up again. That's not what we're talking about.
Nope.
So I just want to start us off. I'm not going to read, but I wanted to just say that when I started going into this wound of being property, I was thinking, now, how can I describe, because we know what enslavement was and how they were property. They were literally, by American law, property, livestock. They were recorded and documented as livestock. They were insured as though they were livestock, to the point where if they were beaten to within an inch of their lives, or they were even murdered, no big deal, because they had insurance and they were covered. They could just go get another, right?
Wow. A whole
Yeah,
human being.
Yeah.
You just
yeah,
built
it's
a whole new human being.
a whole human being. So, um, let's start by defining what property is, shall we?
Mm.
All right. So, property is something owned or possessed. It gives the owner the exclusive right to possess, enjoy, and dispose of a thing. Possess, enjoy, expose by their own whim whenever they felt like it, right?
Mhm.
So I was trying to think of, okay, that's the historical context regarding slavery. So let's bring that up to today. Like,
Yes.
where do we find this today where people are being property or actually held as or perceived as being property? And the first thing that popped up in my mind, I just, hey, I don't just go grab this stuff. It just comes to me, right? So the first thing that came up for me was the NFL,
Yes. Yes.
because you have players, right? And what do they call the CEO of those teams?
Owners.
Owners. So you've
Owners.
got human bodies
Mhm.
performing a duty, right?
Right.
Which
Mhm.
is the entertainment for the masses and for the owners themselves.
Yes.
But the owners are profiting more than the players themselves. So
Yes.
that was the first distinction, was like, okay, but Paige, how can you say they're property when they get paid?
Mhm.
Well, property can get paid, but they're still, guess what, insured, just as our ancestors were insured, just as you insure an animal on a farm, right?
Mhm.
And so the very day that I decided to use NFL as an example or to compare between then and now, the very day my husband and I went into a grocery store, and you know how they have like the greeting cards and then they got the magazines. So we passed by the magazine rack and I was like, I need some information about this. I had that on my mind when we went into the store, and a magazine was sitting right there. And the title was, let me go find it for you. The title was Harper's Magazine. So this is a very exclusive, well-known, institutional American magazine, right? Harper's Bazaar, Harper's Magazine.
Been around a long time.
A long time. And the title that jumped out at me, I kid you not, the same day I decided to use it, The Wood Chipper.
Yeah.
How the National Football League shops for players.
Mhm.
Wow.
And I took it home and I couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing. So I'm not going to go into all that right now. I want to kind of open up the floor to you all, and we're keeping in mind, you know, both sports and entertainment.
Mhm.
And again, you know, we're not here to criticize or judge the players themselves or the entertainers themselves, because as we know, we've had to do some extreme things in this country just to survive,
Yes.
much less thrive. So that's
Yes.
not where we're going. But we want to look at what's underneath all of this, like what's happening to the hearts, the minds, the souls of the people who are in these industries, right? As they're going forth in their everyday life, you know, doing the films, the plays, the television shows, the football games, hey, basketball and all of those things too, all the other sports too. So I just wanted to kind of bring that out and find out what y'all are thinking about it tonight.
Well,
First thing comes to mind for me is Kaepernick. This first
Hey.
thing comes to
Okay.
mind. And Isaiah Washington.
Hey.
You know, I think what we're doing, we're trying to be on the same page, the same level as everybody else in the industry, the NFL, the entertainment industry. But I think our cards are a little bit different or dealt differently. And I
How
don't
so?
want to with this dealt because of I feel still to this day that if you don't know like the owner or the head of the studio or like a famous top actor. And this is for me, your chances, you have to bend over backwards. You have to be a Michael Jackson, a Michael Jordan. You have to bend over backwards to be the best in order to, there's no excuse to pick you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, and the same thing, I mean, in the same, if you side by side with anybody else, then that's different. Because some people are born into it because of their parents, or they know heads of studios, or they know this one or that one. And our cards are saying, okay, you got to be the best in order to get up there. And things have changed a little bit, I think. But as an actor myself, I find that I am still meeting and greeting and still doing the same things of trying to get to the next level.
Wow.
And that is auditioning. So there's certain things that that you go into. You go into an audition, and when they know you, the hugs, the waiting, you sit back and they talk and they chat. Meet me later for this and that. If they don't know you, you come in, and that's fine because that's the business. You got to have a thick skin, and I do. You come in, it's if you come in, you do your best. I have gotten parts, and then I've gotten calls where, oh, we're going in another direction.
Oh, wow. So you know what? When you opened up your comments, you started talking about Colin Kaepernick, and so I was wondering how that connects.
Okay, so for me, it's for him. Just for him, he just chose a side to be on, what he felt was right, and a lot of people agreed with him. Why did he have to catch hell behind it?
Right.
It's like, why?
Right.
Why did he have to?
Because nobody had his back. They didn't have his back. They agreed with him, but they didn't have his back. That's why.
Oh, you're saying the other players didn't have his back?
I'm talking about when he first came out with that whole thing.
Oh yeah, he was all by himself. Yeah.
And people, while they agreed silently.
Yeah. What do you think about it, Kyle?
Exactly. I agree with that because it's like if you come up with your own, if you come up with your own thing or in your own personality, sometimes it can be used against you or it can be for you. It's all depending on, who's ever, basically, running the, in charge of what have you. So I've came across that with sports and my own experience in acting. Just like Auntie Rosemary said, you walk into like an audition or you just never know what you're going to expect. Just like you said, you have to definitely do your best, and you have to pretty much fill the room. You have to fill the room. And even if you're even further into your craft, again, sometimes it could be used against you or for you. You have to pretty much, it's a gamble. Mm-hmm. It's a gamble, and you have to really feel it out.
What makes a gamble, Kyle? I mean, as a black man, come on, let's just get down to it. Black man, black woman, right? In this industry, what is it that you feel when you go into those rooms?
Okay, for instance, when I was going into this particular, when I've done a commercial, I did my first national commercial, and I went in for a different one, and I've heard them ask certain people, "Are you the guy from the Zima commercial?" Because everyone did. I had an afro then, and every person that looked like me, or basically I should say that they thought to look like me. They asked,
we all look alike.
Zima commercial, exactly. And they could look nothing like me at all. But they could just have an afro, like, okay, there he is. No, it's not. No, I'm not. I'm over here, right?
Because I was working at the Directors Guild of America, right?
Right.
And we had the awards, And so, Regina King was there, Holly Berry was there, Tommy Davidson, like all the Black stars were there.
Right.
And so, you come in and everybody goes through the red carpet because the red carpet's right there. So you can't go around it. It's,
Right.
I mean, the way the DGA has it set up, Directors Guild of America, that carpet is just weaving throughout the whole place until you get to your seat, essentially. And so I come in and I'm with my husband and I have on a beautiful gown and my hair is up and all that. And I promise you, the media starts snapping pictures of me talking about, Regina, look here, Regina. I look nothing like Regina King.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, we all look alike.
Exactly. I even gotten people say, you look just like Ice-T. How the hell I look like that?
Not
How the hell I look like Ice-T? Really? Come on. Really? How is that possible? But yeah, and even I was going to say,
chocolate.
it's crazy. I'm like, I couldn't get that. Like Terrence Howard, okay. They're somewhat similar, but me? Come on, man. Really? I'm like,
Lord.
all right. If you look like one of them Ices, okay, okay, thank you, but yeah, fail, but thank you.
So have y'all either known even Genoa, because even though you're not in the industry, we know people, right? So have y'all ever known somebody who would go to any length to be famous, to be in that in crowd, that it crowd, like Rosemary was saying, to fit in?
Of course, because they'll give you that option. They'll give you that option. Even like when you walk in, like, okay, we're looking for a certain comedian or with a top comedian or a top. Do you have that? I've heard like you have that Chris Rock. We're looking for a Chris Rock. They'll try to put you into a position for a well-known actor or celebrity, and you can only be you. So if I go in as that person, it could be definitely used against me because you can go and get Chris Rock or somebody we looking like for. We all have gotten that all the time. They try to pattern you after someone that's already well known. And how can you go ahead and be yourself? I mean, you can have the mannerisms that can remind you of them, maybe, but I cannot be that person because that person is already there.
Who he is.
So if you're looking for, if you can describe me, maybe, like someone like a small man in stature or the beard or something like that with these type of characteristics that can work out. But if you're looking for that specific person, you might as well go and get that person because it's like, or give me a chance to be me.
Right.
Because I find a lot of times they don't really know who they're looking for. They're just throwing stuff out there just to see or just to get a feel.
Yeah, they don't want to pay for who they really want.
They didn't have that Chris Rock money. That's what it was.
Exactly.
One day, Kyle, they're going to have that Kyle Armour money. So, you know what it reminds me of? That Hollywood Shuffle. Wasn't that the one that Robert Townsend did?
Example.
Where they were saying, can you be a little bit more black? Can you?
Yeah. Stick your butt out. Can you do that jive? Can you do that, Eddie Murphy? Yeah, all that stuff. Perfect example. They'll put you through the ringer. To where that's when you lose who you are, your identity.
Wow.
And sometimes it could tamper with your mental because it's hard keeping that up and you're far from that person. And you have to keep that persona up in order for you to get recognition or continual work.
So you're losing. So they're erasing you. They're erasing you.
Basically, it's like you're a turn off, but like you're a remote control. Like, okay, we have enough of you. Next.
Wow.
Yeah, I see that happen to me. I was stand-in for Don Lewis, and the people in the background were working, and they talked about me like I wasn't in the room. She doesn't even look like her. She's not as tall as her. What is she doing here? This is ridiculous. It was just bad talk. And if it wasn't for her, she said, "What is going on?" Yeah. I mean, she stood up for me and said, "No, this nonsense has to stop." Yeah. She's here to do a job, and it has to stop. And I appreciate that.
That's good for people to have your back like that. That's good,
Yeah.
buddy.
Because that doesn't always happen. And I'll tell you what, when I was working in Hollywood, I promise you, every day, it felt like I was driving into a dragon pit.
Wow.
It really did, because the people where I worked and in my specific department, they were soulless. You could look into their eyes and not see their soul. I mean, you see somebody's aliveness, their awakeness, their soul through their eyes. It said that the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Yeah.
Well,
And they would do anything. They would do anything to make it.
I got a story for y'all. Okay. When I was younger, I had quite the voice. I don't have all those skills right now. Well, they've been dormant. But I sound more like because I wanted to be an opera singer when I was a little kid. So my voice sounds more operatic. And I had a friend ask me to sing a song for them. And I guess I didn't sound black enough. They said, "Could you put some soul into it?" How can I change my voice into something that I'm not? But that
it was crazy. You're supposed to put some collard greens right here. Like, hold on, let me.
Some pot liquor.
All right.
Some pot liquor.
Right. Let me drink some pot liquor real quick and let me get that there. Let me hit with you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but the thing is, I didn't realize, but it stayed with me a long time before I was able to shake it off. Because we all have like our insecurities and everything like that, and that just stayed with me a long time. Because when I sang in the choir, you had these people that could take a note and growl and make it go all this way and that way, and then you have my little simple voice. Simple, and the older people in the church appreciated my simple voice, but I wanted to be able to growl and do all the little stuff that the favorite singers was doing, but I couldn't do that. That wasn't mine.
Right, and that goes to identity. And I was I opened up talking about the NFL, and one of the things that I did is I did a parallel between the NFL and slavery. So one of the first things that I recognize is that these men are literally working on a field, right? And slavery, where were our ancestors? They were in a field. Mm-hmm. And then the combine, the NFL combine, which is this yearly event, or seasonal event, where they gather up all the best of the best potential NFL players and they put them through their paces. And I mean, they have them lifting weights, they have them jumping, they're measuring them and measuring their hands and poking and prodding on them. And it's like an auction block.
Just like your book.
It's like an auction block, and then, talk about losing your identity. A lot of times, they want you to project or represent their organization in such a way that you have to, behave a certain way. And if you get out of line, you're going to receive a penalty or a fee. You'll be, what is it? A fee?
Fine.
A fine. Thank you.
Fine.
It's like a snatch up on your bag then.
So that's like, and that's like a virtual whip crack.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you can't go there. You can't do that. And then they take up a lot of your time. You're divided from your family, just like in slavery, maybe not forever, but for a period of time, and you aren't going anywhere because you're going to go out there and play. And the worst part is, if they get a concussion, if they're paralyzed, if they break bones, if they crack their skull, there's many times, for the majority of the time, these football organizations do not have insurance for the player. They have insurance for themselves against the player.
Right.
So that they collect, and that player ends up going home with that concussion and the tremors and everything else. And then, they're just jacked up for life. They're done.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, it goes so much deeper than just a contract. It goes so much deeper than just, I'm making all this money. Yeah, you're making all this money. But to Kyle's point, and to Rosemarie's point, and even to Janelle's point about the singing, they're losing their souls and their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a lot of young players coming out of high school now. And they come out of high school, go straight into the NFL, or even if they're in college and go to the NFL, they don't have life experience. Many of them don't have the right people around them, the right team around them to help them with their finances and just help them stay, on the straight and narrow. Right. Morally.
That's because they don't have a lot of people that's around them and don't have any integrity, and they're not mature themselves, so they can't impart that if they don't have that themselves. And so the young person, especially if they come, a lot of Black people, especially the young single parent home and all that, is used to not having nothing, and
absolutely nothing.
You hand them like a pile
millions of dollars, money, right?
And they just go nuts.
Right, because when you get a lot of money, what that will do to you is it will bring out more of what's already there.
Exactly. Right. No structure, not detail oriented, or you just don't know the business aspect or try to seek the business aspect of it so you can manage yourself and know what to look out for and what to avoid. Exactly. And what to add on and what to negotiate. So right. a lot of that isn't offered. It's not offered, but you have to, it's just more than it's deeper into just being an entertainer. You have to just really know the business aspect of it so you can save yourself and set yourself up, for life, or set yourself up so you can eat and your offsprings can eat as well. Yeah. So it's a lot to learn with that. And unfortunately, when that's offered, just like, Auntie just said, Auntie Genoa just said, you come from a single household, or, that's not preached or not practiced. You tend to just, bite the bait.
That's exactly
and that's right. Unfortunate. And it's unfortunate. Yeah. That's how you lose out, and that's how they gain for insurance for themselves and so forth. And you're left out, basically like on the sidelines.
I have a grandson. I have a grandson that just graduated, and my daughter-in-law has been working with him. He's tall. He's very skillful. He's playing basketball and everything. And I've been talking to him and the other one, because I have two grandsons that just graduated, and they're like 3 months apart. And I've been talking to them about their futures for the last few years now. And so I asked them, I said, hey, what are you going to do? And because he's been going, his mother's been working with him, playing basketball and working on the skills and everything. And I said, there's only a few slots in the NBA. What's your thought? Are you going to school? What are you? Because when I talked to him before, he told me he wanted to he wanted to fix airplanes. That's what he said. That's what he told me. And so, sometimes children, when they have parents working with them on stuff, they guide them away from stuff because he's real bright. He's so smart. Mm-hmm. And I don't want him, that can be a vehicle to get him to school, but I don't want that to be in lieu of. Right. So that's why I've been talking to him.
So let me ask you this. So his plan A, right? His plan A in his mind would be to go to the NBA. But when you're having this conversation with him, are you guiding him to his goal of going to the NBA, or are you saying that, son, you need to have something to fall back on in case that doesn't work out?
No, it's not that, because that was never my son and my daughter-in-law. They've been playing basketball since they were young, and so he just kind of fell into that. And she's been coaching him, and that wasn't his plan A growing up. I'm just gonna tell you,
it was fixing the planes.
He liked electronic stuff. Okay,
got you.
And so the thing is, if you're gonna all I'm saying is, you're gonna make a change, make sure it's really something that you want to do. If you do the fall back, that's what you're gonna end up with, is the fall back. But all I wanted him to do is take a look at all around and let them know they just got children just thinking, oh, I want to be in front of the camera, or I want to be an influencer, or
I want to be a rap artist. Yeah.
So the thing is, if everybody was the same thing, the world wouldn't be able to work. Everybody's unique, and we all come here with different skill sets and everything. And all I want, merely asking him to do, is take a look at everything before you choose.
So did you know that
I'm not killing no dreams?
Yeah. Did you know that there's a large percentage of, we all know, I think, that there's a large percentage of Black Americans who are impoverished, or, they just don't have as much as everyone else, or not. I don't even want to say that. They're in a lower economic rung than the majority. And the majority of them, when they do surveys, want to go to the NBA, want to go to the NFL, want to go into entertainment, want, as you said, to be an influencer, to make a lot of money so that they can help to rescue their families, essentially. Mm-hmm. So why do you think that is? Like, for example, your grandson originally wanted to be an electronic engineer, I think, or work on airplanes.
No, he wanted to fix airplanes. I used to. He likes messing with electronic stuff.
Okay, so I guess I'm missing like the thread or the dots between him doing that and then talking about going to the NBA. I'm missing that somehow.
Okay, well, he has an opportunity to go and play over in different countries, and like overseas and everything. Because it's like I said, my son and my daughter-in-law, they were into the basketball and they were playing, but they didn't make it to what they were trying to go to. So here's my grandson. Okay.
Got it.
The oldest child usually carries the hopes and the dreams of the parent.
Wow.
Because I'm older. You know what I'm saying?
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense that's done, but it makes a lot of sense that that's what you're talking about. Like, he had these aspirations, and then his parents had their own aspirations, but because it didn't quite go the way that they wanted to, now they're placing their aspirations and expectations in their son. I understand.
So that's all I'm saying.
I understand.
And it happens in a lot of a lot of Black families.
Yes, it does.
If you have your first child, which is the man, that's the strength. That's a strength. And they want their child to march out into the world and show them, we got some good stock here. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times that oldest child is not given an opportunity to really be able to explore and be themselves. And so when they get older, they rebel. And sometimes it comes out good, and a lot of times they don't.
Okay, so I'm going to swing us back on topic, really on topic, and focus in on the NFL, the NBA, entertainment. What is it that makes our families drawn to those areas, to those industries, to those?
Okay, so I really need to just piggyback a little bit what Kyle was talking about. You do have to know the business, and I call it business show, and also you just need to know what you're dealing with. Right. Especially if you've been in an entertainment business and the actor, singer, dancer, an artist. You have to know the other side, and that's unfortunately sometimes we don't get that other side. We don't. We just rely heavily on the talent or your instrument, and then you rely on other people for your accounting and for all of the things that come along with being an actor and artist. So but what I wanted to say was I don't want this to be sitting around chit-chatting and smiling about how we're comparing slavery with what's happening. How I see it is this is the same, it's the same thing, it's the same structure. It's DNA passed down to other people, and just like it's DNA to the structure. What I'm saying is, like, you take the model of slavery, and it's the same thing. You go, you get a buck, you get him, you sell. I mean, you sell him, you buy him, you use him, and then you toss. This is the same thing. I don't want people to say, here we go again, another slavery comparison. This is funneled down from DNA. This whole structure of the NFL and the entertainment business is structured the way it was in slavery.
That's a very good point.
Structure.
Very
and
good
I just
point.
want people to realize this is not no sitting around the porch talking, oh, slavery, when you're going to be quiet, when you're going to stop it, it's over.
No, we're not going to stop it, because we have to connect the dots between then and now, because it literally was in the DNA. And you know what else I was wondering about the NFL and the NBA? What I was wondering, because they often call our players a herd. This guy that wrote the article that I was talking about in that magazine, he said that he saw some running backs coming through a hotel, getting ready to go to the combine to be tested, to go to the auction block, essentially. He called it their merchandising event. And he called them a herd, H-E-R-D, as if they were animals. And boy, how beautiful were they. And the reporters were reporting on these players as if they were reporting on the ag, which is agriculture, AG, short for agriculture, the ag string for swine. They were reporting on them until they were reporting on that. So my question is this. I was really thinking about how these owners, watch this, how these owners have all these millions and millions and millions of dollars to buy these teams, in effect buying human property. Where did they get that money from? And it has to be in their family bloodline, right? You don't just come up with that kind of money. At least not the owners that I know, because they're all old white men. And that one old white woman, I don't remember who she was, but she said the N-word and they got her out of there. But I'll research it and get back to you. But I just think about that. That's some old money. So where does old money like that come from? So who was it? Rose, you were just saying how we're really living in a cyclic pattern. It's not about slavery.
No.
It's about that institution channeling and connecting the dots between then and now.
Yes.
And how did that money get here to create the same essential institution on a football field as was created on a cotton field?
Yes.
Is that the same family bloodline? And is that what's in their DNA?
Yes.
How they get that money?
It's the same families. They still living off all the inventions of the enslaved, the stuff that we don't get credit for. They that's why they don't want to do reparations, because if they gave back everything, they wouldn't have nothing.
Right. And they're most fearful of losing their power.
Yeah.
Oh, we know that.
Money is power, but in America, money is power.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Have you ever thought about that? Like, where did that money come from? And, they're always, every now and then we hear some comments seep out into the media where they're calling them a bunch of niggers, or, they're talking about how, I'm going to trade this one for that, trading them off. Come on. It's the same exact thing. So I don't know. That's why it's important for us to talk about slavery. That's why it's important for us to connect the dots between the historical context and today's, and then to think about what do we do going forward? What do we do to get past all of this? Because we're not going to just sit on the porch and talk about, oh, well, my ancestors, and quote me, because now I have the DNA and I'm full of these wounds. No, we're here to battle the wounds. We're here to battle the stereotypes. We're here to crush and smash all the stereotypical aspects of what's happening in today's society based on what happened back there. And the only ones who can do it is us. We can't count on the government. If we could count on the financial institutions or the government or politics and policy or education or all those institutions that were set up by who?
Right.
How is that going to help us?
Well, why would they do that when they're eating off of us?
Why? Why?
Why would they do that if they're eating off of us?
Why?
When they talking about being at the table, we're at the table, all right, but we're on the platters, we're in the bowls, we're
Right.
in the
We
So
have to.
glasses.
how about
We
we
have
are
to.
the table and we're bent over and they're eating off our backs?
But see,
So
the thing is that we have to unite. Unity.
Okay.
We have to. We have to get together. I believe it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit more than unity now because it's been so long. It's been ongoing for so long. So now it's going to take some form of unity within us. But within us, I
Okay.
believe.
You know what? Why is America the most richest country in the world? And I mean, we're having some competition because of the free labor that built this country.
Right.
Where other countries did not have that. That's slowly, but not like America. So we were ahead of the game because you didn't have to come out of your pocket when you had free labor to build. So we were ahead of all these other countries. I mean, things are a little bit different now, a little different, but that's the reason why America's got all of this money.
Right.
Exactly.
Because
Right.
you had
You know,
to
Chris
pay
Rock told a
them.
joke when he was talking about Shaq but somebody said Shaq was wealthy, and Chris Rock said Shaq is rich. The guy that writes his checks is wealthy.
Come on. Come on. And what's interesting, and let me just point this out too. I was reading something on Shaq recently, and he was saying that, here he is with this huge mansion, many homes, not just one, but he lives in this huge, like, I think they said 70,000 square feet.
Wow.
And then all these cars and all this so-called wealth, but I think you're right. It's not about wealth. It's about riches versus wealth. But anyway, he has all this money and all this stuff. And he was saying how sad and depressed he was feeling because, he doesn't have his children there anymore. He's an empty nester. He got divorced from his wife and just, all the things that people think, when they go into the NFL, they go to the NBA, they become this big entertainer, celebrity, this influencer, they're going to have all this money and all their troubles will be over. But at the end of the day, as long as you're living with these wounds, the rage, the bitterness, the jealousy, the crabs in a bucket, which Kyle just alluded to, that we need to unify. No more crabs in a bucket. Like, we're supposed to be helping each other here.
Exactly.
But until you get down to the level where you can begin to heal from these wounds, I know it sounds cliche. I know it does. Let's all just heal and kumbaya. That's not what I'm talking about. This is going to be some hardcore work that I'm talking about. I mean, I don't know what anybody else is out here selling and promoting, but what I know that I went through when I had to go through my own healing, it was the worst thing I could ever imagine. However, when I came out on the other side, I'm free. And now I have the disposition to help others get free. And they won't have to go through as much or take as long because they can follow the pattern that's already been set. And so, we can chase the bags. We're good at that. We're very inventive. We're very ingenious. Everybody wants to be like us. They don't want to like us or love us, but they want to be like us, right? And they want to capitalize off of what we do and who we are. But we don't want to. We don't want to get down to the core of what happened to us, where we are, why we're hurting, and get that healing, because it's just too much time. I got to get to the bag, because when I get to the bag, I'm going to feel all better. Well, it's just a cycle then. You're just running like a rat on a rat race.
This is the problem right here. This is the problem right here. You're right. We are damaged to a certain degree, but we have learned the ways of the other people. And when we talk about what happened to us, nobody wants to listen.
Right.
And so we've been marginalized to the point. It's like, what's the use? If I tell my truth, it's not gonna do any good. Nothing's gonna do any good. Because when I was younger, I would be so upset every time I saw one of our brothers with everybody else and not us. And when they were with everybody else, I don't care if you love who you love, but don't down where you came from, because you're brown. So I know you came from one of us. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And I used to get so upset, and I was thinking, why don't you love me? What's wrong with me? And this is the conclusion I came to, because representation matters and conditioning matters. They feel like if we come together, the brothers feel like they won't have anything. They'll have to constantly be in the fight. And then if you're looking at we're looking at each other and we're both brown, you have to deal with your issues. You can't hide. There's no place to hide.
That's very good.
And that's a door that's open really quickly. That's a door. You know what? I agree with Auntie Genoa. You know, you love who you love, but I know that there's some men, African American Black men, do marry other races to walk through certain doors. I've heard it. I've sat around and talked with people, and they admitted, yeah, I did, because your face can't get me into certain doors, but her face can. I've heard that.
That's interesting. I want to take Genoa's comment step by step. So the first thing that I heard you say is that, you know, people are feeling hopeless and helpless about, you know, unity, which is what Kyle's point is. Well, see, that's one of the wounds. It's hopelessness and helplessness.
Yes.
We're not hopeless, nor are we helpless, but we have that in us, right? That it's just a part of the fabric of and the consequence and result of what our ancestors went through that they passed down to us unawares, right? Unawares. And so somebody said, wow, that was good, Miss Rose. And it was. And so that's the first part of it. The second part of it is exactly what Genoa said is true. And it's not just the Black male female relationships. It's also female friendships and collaborations and all of those things. When we're looking at someone who looks like us, what they're reflecting back to us is our wounds. And so who wants to see that? Who wants to feel that? Who wants to be around that? You know, and it's interesting that I was recently watching even a television series, and it was about these kids at camp. These kids, they had gained all this weight, they were losing weight and all of that. And watch this. Every main character, with the exception of one, was white. And the one Black girl who was in as a main character was the sidekick to one of the white characters. And this was the part that I really observed most. There were Black young men in the cast, but they were extras. So you would see them in the background, you would see them on the scale, you would see them carry something, you would see them shaking their head yes to something someone else said. Not once out of an 8-episode series, maybe 10, did I ever hear one Black male voice. So that takes us back to, I'm sorry, everybody, slavery, where you know, Black men's voices, their authority, their decision making, their protection over theirs that they love, their loved ones, all of those things, they were cut off at the knees because we were relying on massa for our food, our shelter, our everything. Our everything. And why? Because we were, and I'll circle back to our topic, being property.
Kyle, though.
Excuse me, being property.
I got a question for Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you're obviously brown like me. Okay, I've been looking at every movie, every advertisement, and everything I see. They have you guys, and when I say you guys, I'm talking about brown males, and they show you with everybody except for us, and if we're in the picture somewhere, we're either gay with some female or something's wrong with us. How when I'm looking at that, what do when Black men are looking at all these pictures, especially our young boys, do you feel like they're being conditioned not to accept a black woman um, as a possible partner?
Mm.
You know what? I do feel that in a lot of sense because at times, especially today, it seems like they're trying to demasculize. They're trying to take away the black man's masculinity. I think I see that. That's why you see either with a different nationality as our significant other white, or just like you say, they try to push a different type of like the gay gender or what have you. They'll push that, that aspect to kind of throw off, us as a people, basically to show that we could be a family. I feel that black family structure they're trying is look. How can I say this? Trying to be careful.
Take your time.
But you know what? There is been, and this is not new. This started. I looked at a documentary based in the '60s to where they were looking to destroy black families, to take the black man out of the household, and for women to raise their own kid as a single parent, especially young black boys. And we need our fathers, just like the daughters need their mothers, so they can have pattern themselves after a mother to also continue that strong family trait of raising a black family. That was taken away, and I was looking at that, and it's basically compared to today, and this is blatant. It's blatant, and I do catch that, and I do feel that it's definitely a division for that. It is definitely cause a division, and it's basically it's intentional. I'd say it's blatant. It's intentional to try to either erase it or try to destroy it or try to it's crazy. So I do believe that. I do peep that. And a lot of I see it in billboards. I see it in commercials.
It's everywhere.
I see it on at one point. It's everywhere. It's on magazines, bus stop billboards.
The music.
It's everywhere. It's almost in the music videos. It's like Paige was saying. You look at the even in the background of certain movies that you wouldn't. Even sitcoms. I looked at sitcom series, all that. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. So I agree.
Yeah. I have a question for you too, Kyle. And this is not derogatory at all, but I'm just really curious what you think about. Now, I know that right now we're going through a whole gender fluidity movement and all that kind of stuff, so that aside, because before all that came into play publicly and in a trending manner, it had been already underneath the surface. But now that it's on the surface, it's on the top. We have seen instances in Hollywood, particularly in comedy, right? Starting with, for me, Flip Wilson, right? And we've seen all these different black men dressing like women. Do you think that that's part of that trend? And is that something that you see yourself ever doing? Like if somebody offered you a whole lot of money, and said, all you have to do is put on this red lipstick and this dress and these heels.
We'll do your makeup.
What would you do?
But this is my question. Why would they think that would be as that far? Back in the day, let me tell you this. Back in the day for Flip Wilson, when he did it, it was looked at as it was hilarious because that was never really, if you look even further in the 60s, you never seen any actors do that. Really. You know what I'm saying? At least I did.
Right.
Not at least the black actors back in the 60s when Sidney Poitier and we had Who else?
That's basically it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You never saw that.
No,
At
You
least
never,
they
you
played a
never seen
positive
that.
role. Yeah.
Exactly. But when Flip Wilson did it, it was hilarious because Geraldine was funny as hell. But now they're taking it on to where it has to be, if you force that basically on on actors and they have an issue with that, I don't think that should be forced. I think one should have an opinion or say so, or to have the right to decline that.
Okay,
But if that's forced down our throats, I do think that's a problem.
Okay, well, we're coming down to the end of our hour, and I have to bring this up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say the person's name, but you'll probably know who it is. So there's a very, very famous comedian. He's probably at the top of the comedian totem pole right now, right? At the top of the food chain. And he was going to host the Academy Awards ceremony. And because they went back into his records or his files, his Facebook, I don't know, where his social media 10 years back, right? And they found that he had made a comment about the LGBTQ community. And so they took that privilege away from him. And then the next thing I look up, and he makes a film because he has the leniency and the fluidity and the money to do it. He makes a film, and at the very, very end of the film, he's in a dress. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
And to that point, he had never, ever, and would never do something like that. At least that was my estimation, my perspective on his personality and character, and his sense of integrity, that he would never do anything like that. But I believe that he was asked to do that. Either that, or he decided that he would do that to show some solidarity between himself and the LGBTQ community, so that he wouldn't run into problems like that again in Hollywood.
No, that bag and them coins was calling.
Basically. And it's like a dangling carrot almost. I'm not saying it for his situation, but sometimes it's like a dangling carrot. Like, if you want to continue to make this bag and get other opportunities, you go ahead and then you just, fix what you just said, or you just make this right, or adapt to what we think that's funny.
Right. And one of our biggest executive producer, directors, studio heads right now, has dressed as a woman for decades, right? Because that's their main character. And they have tried to veer away from it, but then they always end up coming back to that female character. So I think that it is part of programming. It's part of the construct that says, that at some point, this is what you're going to have to do in order to remain where you are. Especially
if you use that platform to put you on the map. That's the platform that put you on the map. They're gonna,
keep on cycling you back to that role.
Exactly.
This has been amazing. This has been amazing. I'm sorry, go ahead. We've got 1 minute each, I think. Not even 1 minute each, 30 seconds.
Okay. I used to think all of that was funny when I was younger, until I saw the consequences of all of the stuff that slid underneath the rug and out in the open.
Very
it's
good
not
point.
funny.
No, it's not funny anymore.
No.
Rose, you have any final closing?
I say it's definitely not funny, and they need to not ask you about the list. Would you do this? Would you do that? I've been asked, would you do this? Would you do that? When I check no, of course I'm not. I don't get hired.
Interesting.
For me, I feel that if you say no, that shouldn't be held against you, and you shouldn't be questioned. That's something for your decision to decline that for whatever reason, that shouldn't be held against you. It shouldn't be forced down, it should be moved on, and that shouldn't withhold any more opportunities for your future.
I love that.
In this business, it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. And on that note, I will say thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight, Kyle Armour Waters.
Thank you for having me, Aunties. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you'll come back.